Welcome back, everybody, to the 423 Football Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Bouchard, joined here, as always, with Brett Hamilton.
Hello!
And today, we're starting a new, segment, or mini-segment, because this is going to last a couple episodes, but we're doing overvalued and undervalued players, based on their ADP currently. So I guess we're using Fantasy Football Calculator to look at ADP. So if you want to check out what their actual ADPs are, you can go there, check them all out. But today, overvalued and undervalued QBs. So we're going to get into that here in a minute. Hope you all had a great weekend watching some Warriors basketball, because there really wasn't much Cavs basketball being played.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Stanley Cup, Capitals take home the trophy. Alex Ovechkin hasn't been sober in 4 days. I think I've seen him do a keg stand out of the Stanley Cup. I've seen him just drink out of it. He slept with it. He held it up during a Nationals game. And please tell me you saw the chick.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. If anyone, you probably know what we're talking about with the chick at the end of the game when Ovechkin was skating around with the cup.
Yeah.
Just you'll find it. It's not hard to find, but yeah, just wow. But anyway, before we get into the overvalued and undervalued section, let's go over a little bit of news. Honestly, it's not really news, it's just rumors. Obviously the Rob Gronkowski stuff, was it Friday or Saturday that was going down? Friday,
I think.
Yeah, so basically, and I don't know how much truth there is to this. Gronk's already come out and said fake news, of course, in the Gronk way.
Yeah.
But from what I heard originally, and again, take it with a grain of salt because it might not be true, Gronk was on the trading block, and I think he was on the trading. There were like offers on the table with the Titans and the 49ers, and then Belichick and Kraft had a closed-door meeting to discuss it, and then...
Not an open-door meeting.
No, it was closed.
They closed that door.
They closed it, and they locked it, and they pushed a couch up against the door, so no one was getting in there. But anyway, Tom Brady threatened to retire if Gronk got traded, and that's all we know. So basically, what I take from this is Gronk's not going anywhere, Brady's still playing, and Bill Belichick is going absolutely insane. Like, I think he's going off the deep end. He's just like, it's like he's lost his control a little bit, almost. But, I mean, when it comes to Sundays, I still expect the Patriots to be very, very good. Actually, there's something I obviously didn't write on here in our news sections, that just popped into my mind regarding the Patriots. Julian Edelman suspended 4 games for PEDs.
Yeah. I can't believe we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know why I forgot it in the notes. But anyway, Julian Edelman, 4 games without or for the PEDs. So basically it's Gronk and a bunch of scrubs. They're going to use those running backs like crazy.
Yeah.
Through the passing game as well. Gronk obviously going to be the number 1 target. Chris Hogan and Jordan Matthews are going to be the guys. So we'll just see how that pans out. But obviously no Julian Edelman for 4 games.
Yeah.
So apart from the Patriots news, because I never know what to take away from that, but we got Carlos Hyde is regarded as the early favorite to start Week 1. So I don't know how much they're going to use Chubb early on.
Yeah.
I think Chubb could eventually take over the backfield, but I think it's going to be mainly Hyde and Duke Johnson, and then maybe a little bit of Nick Chubb here and there. Mm-hmm. But I fully expect them to give Hyde some opportunities, mainly because they gave him a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
And then Duke Johnson's obviously the versatility and change of pace guy that they can use.
Right.
Okay. Meat and potatoes.
Yep.
Overvalued QBs. We're starting it off. Give me your first guy.
Overvalued. I'm going to go with Sam Darnold. This is kind of an interesting one. We'll give a caveat for a couple of these guys. According to the Fantasy Football Calculator, He's only been drafted 6 times, and it's kind of skewed because his high is like 1.01, which is, ridiculous, obviously.
It's just people being douchebags.
Yeah, just weird. Yeah,
pardon my language, but douchebags when it comes to mock drafts.
Yeah, and that's just ridiculous. But he is technically his ADP is number 17, which he's going in front of guys like Dak Prescott, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, Alex Smith, Tyrod Taylor, Case Keenum, all those guys. And this is a rookie coming in for the Jets. He doesn't have a plethora of weapons around him. He's got Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson, Jermaine Kearse. He didn't lose because he wasn't the quarterback last year, but they lost a good tight end in ASJ. I'd rather have a lot of those guys that he's ahead of right now, and I think I'm definitely not paying a 12th round pick for Sam Darnold.
Definitely. I'm going to stick with the rookie. I'll give my rookie first. Baker Mayfield going as and again, take it with a grain of salt because they're going kind of late. QBs are very hard to gauge right now.
Yeah.
Because they're drafted so differently than other players. QBs are drafted anywhere from the first round to the 13th, 14th round.
And especially with a player like Baker Mayfield where no one's quite sure if he's going to start or how many games he's going to play.
That's what I'm getting to.
It's just hard to really flesh out where they're going to go on draft day.
Yeah, but Baker Mayfield, that's my first overvalued QB. He's going as the 20th QB off the board. So, I mean, once you're going that far down, it's really not that big a deal. But, going in the 13th round. But he's going ahead, and this is really the reason I picked him as the guy. He's going ahead of one, Tyrod Taylor, who's going to be the starter week 1. And I expect, honestly, the majority of the season. Going ahead of Marcus Mariota. Going ahead of Jameis Winston. These are guys that have proven to be top-tier fantasy QBs in the past. Maybe not so much last year, but they have a much better track record. And honestly, Baker Mayfield, I mean, there's a lot of hate on him being the number 1 pick in the draft just because it's so risky. Why? And this is kind of leaning towards that again, that risk.
Yeah.
It's not good. And even Blake Bortles, he's going rather late. I'd take him over Baker Mayfield at this point. And I don't know. I mean, the weapons seem to be good in Cleveland, but still, I don't see Baker Mayfield and Tyrod, really. I don't see them putting up that much fantasy production just because that team, it wasn't fixed in one offseason. There are still going to be a lot of problems. I still don't believe they're going to have even a winning season, or I don't even think they're going to have an 8-8 season.
Right.
So, and people are picking them as dark horses to make the playoffs and wild card, and I'm just like, no. It's not. AFC is bad, I'll give you that. Yeah. But I still don't think the Browns are going to be there yet.
No, I feel the same way. It's just way too risky. Even if you're thinking of, using your last pick before defense and kicker to maybe stash, why would you stash a player that you know isn't going to start week 1? Like, even if you're thinking of stashing an upside QB like that, go with someone else. Go with anybody, really. I mean, you can pick up Blake Bortles just to sub in on weeks that you need him to. But I wouldn't waste my time with Baker. Maybe later in the season it'll change and he gets the starting job and he'll be on waivers.
Oh, but no, honestly, even if people are planning on stashing him, like drafting him in, say, the 13th round, which, I mean, that's one man's opinion, but in the 13th round, even as a stash, I don't think it's going to work out that well. I really don't think his fantasy production is going to be that great. I don't think he's going to be that great of a quarterback in general.
Even if he is a starter.
Even if he is a starter, I don't believe in it at this point.
Yep, I don't blame you. Did you have any other overvalued?
You go ahead with your next one.
Okay. My next oh wait, yeah, that was yours. I guess I was talking last, so I thought it was mine. I'm going to go with Jared Goff. He's kind of polarizing this offseason because we saw like we saw just a huge turnaround last year from his rookie season. He finished as the number 12 QB overall in 2017, which is great. His ADP right now is number 10, and I don't see him improving from last season in terms of fantasy production. I think, if anything, stay the same, which would be 12th QB overall. But then you got to factor in people that didn't play last year, like Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson.
Exactly.
All of these other players that I think are going to fit.
And guys that had down years that are probably going to bounce back, like Mariota and even Jameis maybe.
Jameis, he could get up there if they turn things around down there. And so there's a lot of other players that I think that have a better chance to improve than Goff does. I think that Goff has, he has a skill set that's right for that team, and it worked out for fantasy last year. He had 28 touchdowns, and that's a lot of touchdowns. And a lot of those touchdowns came from dishing it off to Gurley and letting him run 50 yards. And I think that'll still happen, but I just don't see the numbers improving from what they were last year for the Rams.
And that's one thing, especially with Goff, because 28 that's a lot of touchdowns. That's more than Breeze threw last year. I think it was up. It was up there. It might have been top 5 if I remember correctly.
It was 5th.
Yeah. But Goff, just the upside isn't there compared to a lot of other quarterbacks because of how their offense runs and who they have as their running back. It's a run-heavy offense. It's going to stay a run-heavy offense as long as they're ticking on the ground and as long as they're playing good defense, which I fully expect that to happen, especially with all the free agent acquisitions this year. So Goff is I don't think he's going to drop much in terms of fantasy production, but I don't expect 28 touchdowns.
No.
And I don't expect a top 12 QB this year, honestly.
No, there's just too many other players that have the propensity to finish higher. If Andrew Luck really is going to be fully healthy, he's going to finish.
Yeah, that's another name. Derek Carr had a bad year.
Yeah, it's just so many players that I think that the likelihood of them cracking the top 10 ahead of Goff is just so much more likely. I just don't think you're going to see him finish as his ADP right now at 10th.
Yeah. All right, sticking in the same division, my second overvalued guy, Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's the talk of the town.
He is the talk of the town.
Has never lost a game in the NFL. He's going as the 9th QB.
And he's got a big old fat wallet.
Yeah, big old wallet. But going as the 9th QB off the board in the 7th round, they really didn't add that much to that team to help him out. They downgraded at running back from Hyde to McKinnon. The receivers still aren't that great. Garcon, hopefully he'll be healthy and ready to go. Marquise Goodwin, he had a nice little thing going with him there for a while, so I think that could be okay. George Kittle being the tight end, that's fine, but it's nothing special.
These are not flashy players. He doesn't have that one guy that you're just super excited about.
No.
Marquise Goodwin, I think, has the biggest upside potential this year.
Yeah, definitely
on that team.
And I like Garcon too, but
I do too.
But talking about Garoppolo, 9th QB off the board. Come on, he's going ahead of I think Roethlisberger, Stafford, Rivers, Ryan.
Yeah.
All these big name guys with big name weapons too.
Yeah. And track records.
Yeah, and track records. But even last year, speaking of track records, talking about him being undefeated, which that's great. You want wins. That's great for just a QB in general. But for fantasy, from weeks 12 to 17, he was the QB 10.
Right.
So
that's a very small sample size. He's already not living up to his.
It's a small sample size, ADP. And those are weeks where Deshaun Watson didn't play, Aaron Rodgers didn't play, Andrew Luck didn't play. So this is kind of similar to what the Goff thing is. Just a lot of guys being injured last year. They're going to definitely bump Garoppolo down.
Yeah.
And just, I think it's absolutely insane that he's going ahead of Roethlisberger's got Antonio and Le'Veon, Juju. Rivers has Keenan Allen. I know he lost Hunter Henry, but still he's got better weapons than Garoppolo. Matt Ryan is just loaded with offensive weapons.
Right.
I like Garoppolo. I honestly wouldn't mind taking him in like, he'd honestly I'd be happy with him as a second QB in a 2 QB league.
Yeah, I can say
but
that.
I would not feel comfortable as him being my only guy.
7th round, I'm not spending a 7th round pick on him.
Yeah, especially the ADP specifically.
Yeah,
that is
crazy.
really really high. Not only
that's early 7th round.
Yeah, not only him being the 9th pick or 9th QB off the board, but 7th round QB.
Yeah,
you got to give me something better than that.
No, thank you. No, thank you. All right, we're ready to transition to the undervalued QBs.
Yeah, do it.
All right, so these are QBs that their ADP is kind of low for where we think that they're going to end up.
A lot higher in our rankings.
Yeah, a lot higher in our rankings. And these could be players that might be potential steals for you in the draft, so just keep an eye on their ADP. If they don't go up, I think that it's going to be a good opportunity to snag a late QB and be happy with. I'm going to start it off with Case Keenum. His ADP is it just almost floored me whenever I saw it. Number 26, which I just think is ridiculous. He's not the quarterback for the Vikings anymore. You probably know that. He got traded to he signed with the Broncos. And the Broncos, they haven't had their last year wasn't that great for them, but I mean, they still have the weapons of Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas, and they have
just got Royce Freeman in the draft.
Yeah, they just got Royce Freeman. I was trying to think of which rookie they got.
Yeah,
because they shipped out CJ
Anderson.
CJ Anderson. They did not have CJ Spiller. They shipped him out. So I think that I have faith in the Denver offense, and you put all those weapons around Case Keenum. Like, I don't expect him to be, the world beater he was last year. He still only finished as the QB 14, but number 26, there's a lot of players ahead of him that I would feel more comfortable drafting Case Keenum, because I mean they're going with Case this year.
It's well,
obvious to me.
They just want a quarterback that can do something. They've had to deal with Trevor Siemian. They've had to deal with Brock Osweiler.
Yeah.
They had to, I wouldn't say deal with, but I mean they struggled through the crappy Peyton Manning final year.
Yeah.
So Case Keenum is going to be a very, very nice surprise for those Denver Bronco fans.
Yeah. I mean he's going behind players like Mitch Trubisky. He's going behind.
That's
Baker
stupid.
Mayfield.
That is stupid.
People really like Mr. Trubisky.
Okay.
Sam Darnold's ahead of him.
Yeah, we talked about those overvalued guys, but I mean, just Case Keenum. I think, and it reflects my rankings in terms of wide receiver rankings, because I have Demaryius Thomas. I think he's going to have a pretty good year. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. He hasn't had a good quarterback in a few years. Emmanuel Sanders, same thing, but I don't understand why he's going so late right now. Maybe people will change their mind. Again, this is only like a month spread. Right. And we're slowly, as the offseason progresses, maybe people wisen up, listen to us.
But if I'm waiting until right now his ADP is in the 14th round. If I'm waiting until the 14th round, I haven't picked a QB, and guys like Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, and Matt Stafford are all gone, which I think they would be by the 14th round. I'm fine getting Case Keenum in the 14th round.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm
not even worried about that, because even then, I mean, if it turns out, because there's going to be one of these guys that's going to come out of nowhere and provide fantasy value that you can pick up if you need to. But I'm fine with rolling out with Case.
I mean, like talking about Garoppolo a minute ago, Case Keenum in the 14th or Garoppolo in the 7th. Give me Keenum every day of the week. Honestly, you could put Garoppolo in the 12th, and I'd probably take Keenum in the 14th over him. Because they're not that far apart in my rankings, actually.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Because I was just really surprised by how low Case Keenum was falling, and I don't know if it's going to get better closer to the time, or if that's just
we're going to change
the way the world works.
actually, no one talk about this, because hopefully we can get him as a steal. But anyway, my first undervalued guy, starting with. This is probably one of our only big name guys on the list, but Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz going as the QB7 right now, and you're thinking, hey, that's not really undervalued. He's going as a top 8 QB.
Yeah.
But again, QB7, Just to put into perspective, he's going in the 7th round, pick 5. Garoppolo's going 7th round, pick 8. Just that just makes my point right there. Just Wentz and Garoppolo, they should be a lot further apart than that. I'm not so sure I'd be in the 7th. Okay, I'd pull the trigger on Wentz. I'll take that back. Yeah. But last year, before he got hurt, he was the QB2. Mm-hmm. He threw for the second most touchdown passes in the league. Obviously, the QB2 behind Russell Wilson, who threw the most touchdown passes in the league. And people have Deshaun Watson at number 2. Or his ADP is second QB off the board at the moment, and I'm fine with that. I don't have that big of a problem. But why is Watson, who's coming back from the same injury, and uses his legs a lot more, which that's a risk for injury? Why is he higher than Wentz? Like significantly higher, 5 spots higher than Wentz. It just doesn't make sense to me. And Wentz he still has plenty of weapons. He's got Zach Ertz, his favorite target over the middle. He's got Alshon Jeffrey, who they really started connecting at the end of the year. Nelson Aguilar is proving to be a decent wide receiver. And J.J. I still have faith in. Corey Clement, I think, is going to take a huge step forward. And he has the offensive line to really protect him. It was a freak accident last year. I mean, so was Watson's. But Wentz, I think, should be going a whole lot higher than what he is. I think I'd honestly take him over Watson. I'd take him over Brady. Definitely take him over Breeze. There's a lot of guys I'd take Wentz over at this point.
You wouldn't take him over Russell?
No. I like Russell too much. Even with all the problems that the Seahawks are going through right now, I still think Russell he's too good by himself to not have high on my rankings.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I like that. So Carson Wentz. My next undervalued QB, Matthew Stafford. He's the quarterback for the Detroit Lions, and his ADP is
I didn't know that.
It's a fun fact. His ADP is going in the 11th round at number 15. And this is one that I think is undervalued, but I'm not saying that he should be in the top 10, top 8, or anything like that. But we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast, and I was going through the list of the ADP list, and I was like, man, these guys back to back to back. Phillip Rivers, Big Ben, Matt Ryan, and Matthew Stafford. They're all so similar in my mind. Like
very close.
They're almost interchangeable. But out of those guys, I think I would like Matthew Stafford for this year. They added what I think is the most crucial part to their offense that they needed so bad in a running back in Kerryon Johnson.
Two running backs.
And LeGarrette Blount. Yeah, they got a rookie and a very, very veteran.
A very veteran. I like that.
Yeah. So Blunt's going to it's going to take some of the pressure off whenever they get into the red zone. Matthew Stafford isn't going to have to come pull something out of his butt because they don't have a running back that can pound it in. They've got Blount to do that. Kerryon Johnson, there's a lot of positive things coming out of there. Last year, Matt Stafford was the 7th QB and threw for 29 touchdowns. And I honestly don't see why his touchdowns couldn't stay the same this year.
Oh, yeah. He's always been a high touchdown and a high yardage guy.
Yeah, and that's just kind of how he goes. And if he can do that last year, I don't see any reason he couldn't get closer to the top 10 than his ADP at 15. He's been a top 10 QB for the last 3 years. They just got Matt Patricia as the new coach, so we'll have to see how the offense changes after that. But they've still got the wide receivers. I think Galladay is actually going to take a step up this year.
Yeah, big step up, I believe.
He's a deep sleeper, but I think that he's going to.
They have a very underrated receiving core, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Marvin Jones has been pretty consistent. Took a step up last year in his consistency. Golden Tate, he's always there for.
He's always good
over 100 receptions a year.
He's always good in PPR format.
Yeah, and Galladay, they finally have a big guy who can win jump balls. They got rid of the just infection that was Eric Ebron, and they added some running backs. So Stafford.
I don't see why that whole offense doesn't take a step up this year, and I don't know why his ADP has sunk down to 15. I'd take him over any of those guys that I mentioned before.
Yeah, definitely.
So his ADP for me would probably, or his his ranks for me would probably be at like 11.
Yeah, I take him over Garoppolo.
I'd still take him over Garoppolo.
All right, my guy. I think it's our last guy.
Yep.
That we got to mention. Undervalued. Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota. Very, very, very bad season last year.
Yeah.
Finished as a QB 21, he's going as a QB 21 this year. Excuse me, in the 13th round. So it's really not what I expected in terms of Mariota. I think it's just a hangover of what happened last year. That's why he's going so late, and hopefully people will change their minds and be like, oh. It's not just last year that we need to look at. We need to look at previous years where he actually had some production. But the Titans have revamped that entire team, really.
Yeah.
Mariota, even though he had a down year, he's going to have a solid running back, consistency at the running back position with Derrick Henry. Deion Lewis is a nice add. I still don't think he's going to be that great in fantasy, but he's going to be a very nice piece in that offense.
Yeah.
Corey Davis, I expect to take a huge step up this year and really solidify that number one wide receiver role. Rashard Matthews is always consistent. Delaney Walker is always consistent. Yeah. Offensive line is brilliant. So the offensive pieces are there, and not to mention the defensive side of the ball was very I guess they were very poor last year, and they're going to take a step up this year, I believe.
Yeah, they've added some pieces that I thought they really needed to really solidify the defense. So I think overall the Titans are going to take a step up next year, and if the Titans are doing better, there's no way Marcus Mariota finishes as the 21st QB.
No, definitely. And just talking about more changes this offseason, they changed head coaches. Mike Vrabel's the guy now. They changed offensive coordinators. Matt LaFleur is the guy now, and for those of you who don't know, LaFleur was with the Rams last year when, obviously, under Sean McVay, he had Jared Goff clicking on all cylinders. We talked about him, 28 touchdowns last year. Had Todd Gurley running the ball left and right, just running people over. And if you go back 2 years ago, LaFleur was the quarterback coach for the Falcons, and in 2016, Matt Ryan won the MVP. So Marcus Mariota is going to have, he has all these pieces. He has a new coach. He has a very good offensive coordinator who obviously has turned QBs into superstars. So I expect Mariota to have a very, very good season. And again, I think I'd take him over Garoppolo. I keep going back to Garoppolo because
really that one's pushing it for me. I think I'd rather have Garoppolo.
It might be crazy to say it, but all the things around Mariota I think are so much better than Garoppolo. I like Garoppolo. I like the Niners. I think they're taking steps forward, but it's going to be a little bit longer for them to get to where like the Rams have gotten to, where the Jaguars have gotten to. With that young quarterback where he finally takes that step forward. They're getting there, just not this year.
Yeah, they still have Jeff Fisher hangover.
Yeah. Or
like
not
after
Jeff,
8 years ago.
Rams. Oh, you're talking about the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's all for that segment. One quick question. This is going to be a short episode today. Sorry if you wanted an hour-long episode, but... we're trying to. We've been busy and we're trying to cram all this in, and still give you enough information to hopefully help you in your drafts.
Yep.
But anyway, quick question before we go. We both have Aaron Rodgers as our QB1.
It's really not even close for me.
No, it's not close at all. But after Rodgers, who are you taking? Who's the first quarterback off your board?
I think I'm going to...
Or second, I should say.
I'm going to commit to Russell Wilson. He just... we mentioned him a little bit earlier in the episode. He just gets it done. Like, no matter what's around him, his offensive line isn't there. His wide receivers aren't catching the ball. His running backs don't exist. And he still produces fantasy points. I think that as much going on in Seattle that's happening right now with their defense, tanking. I don't think that really hurts his fantasy value any. I think that he's still gonna make plays. He can run. He can pass. He can throw touchdowns.
And he stays healthy.
Which is great, especially for a running QB. But they added Rashad Penny, which I think is going to be amazing.
Dynamite.
Yeah. they've still got a talented wide receiver core. They added Brandon Marshall, which, whatever. But they still have Doug Baldwin. I think Tyler Lockett has a great talent that I think that he may step up. They still have the deepest of sleepers, Amara Darboh.
Keep that name in mind, ladies and gentlemen.
Keep it. That was my deep sleeper from last year. Didn't pan out. I was maybe a year early, but
hey, it's better to be a year early than a year late.
That is very true. That is very, very true. So they've got all these pieces around them on offense, but honestly, it just doesn't matter what they have on offense because he can do everything on his own. If their defense really is terrible, well, that just means he's going to be playing catch-up more, which translates to more fantasy points. So I'm not worried about his fantasy production. He's been top 5 for forever. He just gets it done. And, there's a few other players that you could take at number 2, and I wouldn't be mad about. But for me personally, if I'm going to be spending that kind of draft capital on a QB, I want Russell Wilson.
I definitely agree with that. He's my number 2 guy. So just for the sake of being different, who's your number 3 guy?
Oh, man, you sprung that on me. I'm so unprepared. Number 3, I'm probably taking... Man.
Honestly, my top 5 is very, very... Or my 2 through 5 for me, very, very interchangeable. They're gonna be honestly all off season. I'm gonna be flip flopping left and right. But
what's your top 3? What's your 3 rotation?
What do you mean?
Like the ones that are kind of just interchangeable.
Like 2 through 5.
Yeah.
In no particular order.
Yeah, I know.
Because again, they're so interchangeable. Russell, Wentz, Watson, and Brady.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really thinking Watson, Wentz, or Brady for the number 3.
Well, I guess
there's so many ways you could take that.
Yeah, if you were doing it by like tiers, obviously I guess we'd have Rodgers as a tier to himself.
Yeah.
And then those guys are in the next tier, and then after that,
there's definitely a tier break.
Yeah. Rodgers, and then the 4, and then after that, obviously more tiers.
Yeah, there's more tiers.
Yeah.
But at number 3, I think I'm gonna commit to. I'm gonna go with my guy from last year, Carson Wentz. I think that it's either
we're just breaking down our rankings right now. I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. That's fine.
Very early rankings.
Carson Wentz. He's got the same argument can be made for him or Deshaun Watson that they're both coming off a injury, which makes them an injury risk. But I think you already said this, but Carson Wentz does not run like Deshaun Watson does, so I think he has a better propensity to stay healthy. And that was a freak thing last year. It wasn't because his offensive line was terrible or anything. The Texans, I think, are a worse team than the Eagles, so that helps.
How dare you say that?
Well, defending Super Bowl champs, but whatever. I just really like everything about Carson Wentz's play. Like he passes all of the eye tests. Like the way he can just command a team all the way from the 20 all the way to the touchdown. I mean, he's in control of the whole thing, and which I think he's way ahead of schedule based on how young he is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's really impressive to watch. The only reason I would consider Deshaun Watson is because he was just a fantasy machine, and the only thing I'm worried about there is a little bit of regression because you can't throw 5 touchdowns a game for 16 games.
Yeah, well, that's one thing people forget. Obviously, we saw what Watson could do last year.
Yeah.
But the track record, we have a solid 2 years of Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, we have like 5 games.
Yeah.
To me,
that's just a much more risky pick.
They were really good games.
That's an understatement.
That's the understatement of the century right there.
Yeah,
but
they were fantastic.
But it's still a bit scary. I still have him top 5.
Yeah.
Just because I saw what he did.
I want to say you can't expect that every game, and then I remember myself saying Will Fuller can't catch 2 touchdowns every game, and he kept doing it.
Yeah.
So we'll just see. But to me, Carson Wentz is a safer pick. It's a much better team. We had, even with the injury last year, we had 13 games of him, and they were all great.
Honestly, like Carson Wentz is a guy I pick, and then that's my QB. I don't need to draft another. Deshaun Watson, I might be tempted or talked into picking a late round guy.
Yeah.
But with Wentz, no, I'm not taking a late round guy. I don't think I need to.
Yeah. So what about you? Wentz at 3?
Yeah, Wentz at 3.
Okay.
We'll stop there so we don't get too far into our rankings because again, it's a bit premature.
Yeah.
We still have a little bit of off season to get through.
Yeah. And some listeners may be yelling at us saying, "Where's Tom Brady?" The only reason he fell below Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson for me, well, maybe behind Deshaun Watson, it's just because Tom Brady is great and he wins games, but as far as fantasy production, to me, it's very consistent, but you might get a spectacular game here and there.
I like that you said that because honestly, the consistency is clearly there, and he has great games, but the upside's really not there anymore.
I don't think it is. No.
He's not going to go out there he does not have the upside like Aaron Rodgers does to go out and potentially throw 50 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Keep the picks under 10. Brady can keep the picks under 10, but he's not throwing. He's not throwing 50 touchdown passes. He's not running the ball like Aaron Rodgers can, or Russell Wilson, or Wentz, or Deshaun Watson. Those guys have super upside,
right.
And that's why
the running thing is a big part of why Tom Brady would sink a little bit further down. Is just because he doesn't run, and running QBs just can't be underestimated.
Yeah,
it's crazy just based on how fantasy points are calculated. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. One more question. Rodgers being our number 1 QB in a standard 10-team 1 QB league. What is the earliest you were taking Aaron Rodgers?
This is a really tough question. Not for you, but for me, being as someone who
don't put our league of record aside because obviously.
Oh, okay.
When it comes to, for those of you who are new to the show or haven't listened to us in a while, in our league of record, it's our hometown league. It's just a bunch of people we've known for all of our lives, basically. Yep. I usually
end up with a lot of Packers players.
Well, that, and I do that anyway, but I usually take Aaron Rodgers in the first round just because I need to have him. This is, and honestly, works out most of the time.
Yeah.
But it puts me at a disadvantage, honestly.
It does.
And I'm fine with that. I have to have him in that league. I can't do it. Honestly, I feel like I'd be disinterested in that league if I didn't have him. But other than that league, I really don't reach that much on QBs. I might.
No.
I'm still looking to get Aaron, but much later.
I would say, being someone who doesn't draft QBs early at all, I would say, man, his ADP right now is about right where I would.
What is it? What is it?
308.
308.
Honestly,
so
I was thinking back of the third, so maybe 308's the right pick for me.
That's not bad, honestly.
No, if he fell to me at that far back in the third round, I think I'd pick him.
So basically, honestly, if you think about it, if you have the 308 selection, that means you would have the, would you have the 8th pick in the draft? Would that be right?
Because it snakes back.
Yeah, so 8, 16, 8?
Yeah.
Is that right? So you're thinking, just playing it out in your head, you could end up with maybe Melvin Gordon, and then honestly, whichever receiver you want. There's a lot in that kind of tier right there. Maybe Devontae Adams, and then
if I could get Devontae Adams. It was my second pick, and then Aaron Rodgers was available at the third pick. I'd be all over that.
If you could, and that's just, you could probably do better than that, honestly, in a lot of leagues. I know there's been a lot of players dropping, and obviously we'll get to that in later episodes when we talk running back, wide
Yeah.
receiver, overvalued and undervalued players. But yeah, if I could start my draft with Melvin Gordon, Devontae Adams, and Aaron Rodgers,
I'd be okay with that.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I won't do that in our league of record because I'm terrified of one of my horrible friends that they will snipe
the
them.
minute you let Aaron Rodgers go past the first round, you're done.
The funny part is every single year I consider it. I consider trying to make it or let it happen.
Yeah.
But I know just because I
This
know
is because,
my
like,
friends too
even
well.
like if you had like your first pick, if I had a first pick in the not first pick, but if I had a pick after you, like in the second round, and Aaron Rodgers was still there, I would pick him. And that's way ahead of where I would normally pick because I know you'll give up a king's ransom for him.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
I mean, it's just trade bait for me.
That's true. I usually don't hold out that long.
I know whatever. Yeah, you don't. Last
But no,
that long.
it's like a double-edged sword because even though like you, especially you guys know, when you draft a player like that I want, you're going to get bombarded, absolutely bombarded with trade requests and
somehow
text messages.
I would receive a trade before our players were even in the system because we do a live draft.
Well, I mean, I did the Jordy trade last year, and that was in the first round.
Yeah, we didn't even get out of the first round. You'd
get
already
the first
traded.
round. Yeah, I was shocked, and honestly, other than the fact that Rodgers got hurt, which is a freak thing, it was absolutely golden for me. Until the injury.
You trade away
AJ Green and Sammy Watkins.
AJ Green, which that's fine.
I mean, Jordy was the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy before the injury.
Yep.
So anyway,
So it was working out for you.
Yeah, definitely. I guess this episode did end up somewhat long. We will be back next week with our running backs, overvalued and undervalued players. I am still trying to look around and find something else for our giveaways. Hopefully we can do a June giveaway. I know we're almost halfway through the month, but maybe we can get something in. Again, shout out to Jason Hajic for winning our last giveaway, our T.Y. Hilton signed photo giveaway. So yeah, definitely shout out to everyone who joined that or entered the giveaway. And hopefully you keep following us, keep listening so you can get in on that and obviously get our incredibly mediocre fantasy knowledge that we're providing you. So anyway, follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at the423football. Make sure you like us on Facebook, subscribe on Apple Podcast, Google Play, and YouTube. Give us a like, leave your comments and reviews. Thanks for listening. We are the 423 Football Podcast.